Hey everybody, what's going on? It is Dunbar Snack Bar here with MLB 13 the show, and we've got some Kevin Millar road to the show coming your way right here. This is the last game that I'm going to be pitching here before we hit the postseason. We could go ahead and hit 100 games too, which I think is going to be really, really sweet. Kevin Millar has been a huge part of the success of the Red Sox here. So, there is one more game that Kevin Millar ends up pitching, but I accidentally simulated through it. And I was just like, good, dang it. But that's all right. So, for this video here, I had a few things on my mind because over the weekend here, I did a dual comm with Living from 510, and you know he'll put that up on his channel here as soon as he goes ahead and edits it, because we were talking about baseball and it ended up going like 34 minutes. So I can imagine he's probably going to want to cut that down or something like that. But we talked about two things. One about baseball as a whole, and we talked about performance-enhancing drugs and what that's doing for the game and things like that. Pretty heavy topics. But one thing it got me thinking is, and I kind of go over this in the video, so I'm not spoiling it too much, I hope. I'm just kind of more elaborating on my responses. About baseball as a whole, like how it's doing, because a lot of people will say that baseball is dying. I am not somebody who believes that baseball is dying. I just think that there's a small evolution in baseball. The big thing that people point to saying that baseball is dying is they take a look and they see ticket sales has gone down. That can easily be explained because what I did is I went to ESPN's website, and they actually keep track of the total attendance for every single team. So I calculated that all up together, so that way I'm not getting how's a team doing, but just how baseball as a whole is doing. And when I was going through it, there's a little dip. Okay, the dip takes place in 2008. That's when the economy got really bad. So, of course, in 2008, we're not going to be seeing as many people buying baseball tickets because either, one, they can't afford it, or two, the economy changing was a major wake-up call for people to realize, well, I need to go ahead and be a lot more careful with my money. But another thing, too, about baseball, and to go back to the attendance, ever since 2008, it's actually started to rise back up. So that's a good sign. Of course, you want to see that going back up, but one thing that I see has been a big change is the availability of being able to watch baseball. When I was growing up, it was, sure, maybe you could watch the Braves on TBS or ESPN or something like that, but you really didn't have that much of an opportunity to watch baseball from home. So if you wanted to watch baseball, you paid however much the ticket was, and you went to the game. But now, here's Tom and I. We watch baseball on our cell phones. Tom's in a different part of the world, and he's able to pull up a baseball game on his iPhone and be able to watch it. That's pretty cool. The availability of baseball and to be able to watch it in your home has become a lot easier. So that is going to affect attendance somewhat, but there's still revenue that comes from it. From my MLB TV, pay $130 a year, so that way I can watch it. How many baseball tickets would that be, and how many games can I not go to? So that's the thing. There's just additional revenue that's coming in. So when you take a look at like baseball dying, you can't just look at attendance numbers. You need to be taking a look at revenue streams as well. And baseball, I've been destroying it when it comes to revenue here. So the game is still alive when you take a look at that. But one thing about baseball, and I don't think this is me being a pessimist. I hope this is me being a realist. But the one thing that everybody has to recognize is baseball's not dying. It's just not the most popular sport in America anymore. That obviously goes to football. But, when baseball was in its prime, I consider the prime time, is between the 20s and the 50s. Maybe you can throw the 60s in there, but that's actually quite a long time. But during the golden age of baseball basically ran unopposed as the top professional sport in America. Baseball and basketball were very, very young and really hadn't caught on to where it is now. Now, baseball is a little bit of a different sport, too. I mean, we live in a society where instant gratification is all that we're about. When we want something, we want it now. Trust me. I work technical support, and people they'll say whatever they want to get their phone working right away without any regards to the person on the other end or the request that they're making, just stuff like that. So baseball is not the type of sport where you're going to get that instant gratification. There's not as much action that gets your adrenaline going as like football or even basketball. So baseball is a sport now, I think, that's kind of more of a relaxing sport. You go there to enjoy the game. Sure, you're going to cheer, you're going to clap, but the energy is very, very different than any other sport. But I think baseball still has its relevance, because the thing that I think of with baseball, like the two greatest things that baseball has done for our country as a whole is, one, it was the catalyst, and it's really what propagated the civil rights movement. Jackie Robinson coming into Major League Baseball, really made people aware that, yes, African Americans deserve to be on the same tier as us, white people here. Not just in sports, but in general. I mean, I support that 100%. And when people were seeing Jackie Robinson play and other African Americans come onto the field, and people getting used to him, I mean, the racist people getting used to seeing other people than those who are just white playing the greatest game, I think that really allowed some people to kind of rethink their position on stuff. So, I mean, that's one of the greatest things that I think baseball has done was propagating the civil rights movement and getting that going. But the other thing, of course, that I see baseball as doing that really helped the country out was everything during World War II. So, during World War II, the thing that made the United States really strong was our ability to mass produce weapons. So, we were pouring out weapons so quick, and I'm not talking about just like guns. I'm talking about, like B-17s, Sherman tanks, all our fighters. Like, we were making so much more than the Germans could go ahead and take down, that we just continually kept getting stronger all throughout the war. And so when the war started, Franklin D. Roosevelt, the president of the United States at the time, goes to the commissioner of baseball and basically lets him know that throughout the war, baseball is going to be absolutely huge for the country. Like, do not stop playing baseball, because as we're doing all this mass production, people are going to be working longer hours, and baseball is going to be the escape that people need. Just kind of get through everything. And it was a success, and I think that it was because people had that relief, that they didn't get tired as quickly, or they didn't lose morale or anything like that. So another thing that baseball did. But right after 9/11, we kind of saw another great thing that baseball is able to do. It's kind of along the same lines as what it did for the country during World War II. Right after 9/11, I mean, the city of New York, pretty traumatized by what was going on. I mean, it's not like they were down and out or anything, because people from New York are very, very tough people. But obviously it was a difficult time for them. And then what Mike Piazza did with the Mets, right after, 9/11 and giving the city hope and stuff like that, I tell you what, that's got to be the greatest moment that I've lived through here in baseball, or at least one of them. So, you always look at the golden age of baseball and the stuff, that it was able to do way back when, but it's really great to see that in a more modern moment, like 9/11, baseball was still very relevant and still did a lot of good. I think that if baseball was dying, people wouldn't have turned to baseball as much, to kind of feel good about things or to inspire hope and stuff like that. But, some people are saying, too, that performance-enhancing drugs, all of this is going on, is killing baseball. I don't think I've talked to one person. Actually, I have not talked to one person who's been like, oh, wow, this person used performance-enhancing drugs. I am done with baseball. I am never going to watch baseball again. I haven't heard that. I mean, I've heard, forget that team, forget that player, but I've never heard, forget baseball. And I think that, what happens here, the outcome of what's been going on with all the PEDs could really be another one of those great moments in baseball. because baseball reflects a lot about people, and you can draw a lot of life lessons just out of the game of baseball. The biggest one, of course, is how often people fail in baseball. You have somebody who fails 70% of the time at the plate, and they're still considered a good hitter. You know, batting 300, it's not bad. Now, how many things in life do you factor in you can fail 70% of the time at and still be pretty good? I mean, there really isn't too much, at least not in the day-to-day scope of things. But, you know, we take a look at that with players. But as an organization, baseball has a real opportunity to be like, you know what, we messed up. Performance-enhancing drugs happened on our watch, but we were able to go ahead and clean it up. And we become better for it. You know, and that's one of the things, you know, you can kind of turn to and kind of make that a life lesson of your own. You know, you can make pretty big mistakes in your life. You can make huge mistakes, but you can bounce back and you can be better for it. So, I don't know. But I don't believe baseball is dying. I mean, I think it's evolving. I mean, there's a couple things that I was like thinking of that, you know, you could change with baseball to make it a little bit more exciting. But the thing is baseball is a game of tradition. So you don't want to change too much. You know, the one thing that I really thought of that might be somewhat plausible is instituting the designated hitter in the National League as well. You know, that way some more teams are going to be in the running here to be able to pick up some free agents. You know, keep people like Albert Pujols, you know, who when they get old, they could go ahead and be like the DH or something like that. But, I don't know, that's the only thing that I could think of. I mean, I know some teams would be really excited to be able to get their pitchers out of the batter's box. You know, it just means that they're not going to get hit. And then, I don't know, provide some more offense. The thing that a lot of people, I'm not one of them, but find is the most exciting thing in baseball is the home run. So if you add a DH, you got more home runs. It might excite a few more people and make them think baseball is a little bit more action-packed. But that's really it. You know, because all the other stuff that I hear tossed around to kind of change baseball to make it more exciting, I don't think is really too plausible. Like, you hear people saying, you know, go ahead and get rid of, you know, all these teams having different salaries, having a wide margin, and go ahead and just kind of even it out across the board. I mean, that only benefits some teams, not everybody. Plus, I think that, you know, the greatest time in baseball, or one of the greatest times, is when you see the underdog win. So you've got to have underdogs, but I don't know. I mean, since I'm an A's fan, of course, I wouldn't mind the team having more money, but coming at the expense of somebody else's team, I mean, I just don't think that one's right. But I don't know. I don't think baseball really needs to change at all, because if it changes, you're either going to lose your most loyal fan base, which I'm among them. You know, I don't want to see baseball change that much at all. Or two, you change it so much it doesn't seem like baseball anymore, but anyway, just wanted to make a video here for you guys just saying that I don't believe that baseball is dying. On the contrary, I think it's thriving and it will continue to thrive. It'll never be golden age again, but it still has a bright future in front of it. Anyway, thanks for watching, you guys. Like I said, next video, we're going to be in the playoffs. So we'll see who we end up facing. It'll be cool. Never had this before. But anyway, thanks again for watching, you guys. I sure do appreciate it. More of this to come later on, so make sure you subscribe if you haven't already. Follow me on Facebook, Twitter, all that great jazz. But you guys are phenomenal people. You really are. Thank you again. And as always, I hope you have a good one.